Well, we only had one name on our list, but I'm sure Randy's one of them.
Yeah. All right, excellent. All right, good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Good. All right, so today we're going to be starting off with some really great innovation and utilizing Pinnacle products. We'll have William Bain and Mr. Mark Holloway. So let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so let's see. There we go. All right, so again, we're going to be looking at what innovative tools Pinnacle put in place with some of their partners and how those partners have utilized those tools in the food service, in a food service realm. And we'll also take a deeper dive on how those tools have helped them innovate their business. And if you ask me, our innovative QSR for the convenience space in a really awesome and innovative way. So we've got William Bain with Get and Go and Mark Holloway here, and we'll do a little bit of introduction so that you all can learn a little bit more about them if you haven't met them already. So Mark.
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah.
It is on. I am Mark Holloway. I'm the CIO for Jiffy Trip. We've got currently 29 locations in Oklahoma, working on 30. I came into this industry in 2004 after consulting for the company for about 4 years. Before that, while I ran a dial-up ISP in their dying years. and you know, they were not scanning at the time. Everything was done on a tech. I think it was a 290 model cash register. They had about half the stores with pay at the pump. The first thing I did was get internet to the locations, brought in email so that they could communicate, save a little bit on long distance. 2006, we began scanning at the register, scanning in and out, and that was the single, you know, it was the single largest bump to the P&L in the company's 25-year history. Was moving to scanning, actually knowing what was coming in the door, going out the door, and knowing that it had the right prices on it. And that pretty much single-handedly committed this company to technology moving forward, because you once you can put your hands on a value, you're likely to continue. Moving along with that, in 2012, I joined PCATS, not knowing really what it was, but knowing I wanted to be able to get my hands on the payment codes without having to ask a vendor for them. And that got me there. But once I was there, I realized the importance of standards as an industry. And one thing that I have also noticed are the vendors that participate year after year, and Pinnacle has been there since way before my time. 2015, I went EMV inside. It was a fairly painless operation. I won't say it was completely painless, but it wasn't too bad. I let several other companies train the customers before I did. 2017, it's not listed there, but I chose to go outside of that and try to train them outside, and that did not work so well. So you have to learn from your mistakes and know what's going to affect the bottom line. 2018, last year, we committed to building our first made-to-order store, made-to-order food specifically, and kind of moving away from a traditional convenience store into a more non-traditional, I wouldn't call it a QSR, but it's somewhere between QSR and casual dining. 2019, this year, we're set to open 2 stores this year with that model, and we'll be rolling out our mobile app with food ordering and payment very shortly. We're currently using the app, mobile payment, and mobile ordering from Pinnacle.
And we've got William.
Hi, my name is William. I'm the current CEO of Get Go Markets. I've been the current CEO for 6 years. In a former life, I was CFO of Red Box Food Stores, sold out, and got into consulting gig for 90 days, and showed the company a lot of value in this here if you run it. And so for 6 years, we've just continually tried to innovate, get a little better on everything we can in the store, been honing in on food service as a differentiator from our competition. Everyone sells Marlboro, everyone sells gas. You really can't separate yourself from the competition that much. In food service, you can. So in food service, we are driving just very fast growth. Inside store, per store is up over $800,000 in 6 years. We're top quartile inside sales, top quartile in food service. And how we got there is made to order food, stuff that you would not normally find in a convenience store. So I think you guys are on the right path. We crack our own eggs. We do fresh and frozen ground chuck burgers. I also bring in bacon that's never been frozen, which is actually hard to do. Bringing in artisanal cheese, local cheese. So we're constantly trying to get our food slightly better than competition and continually to improve in that regard. When it comes to the kiosk and what we've actually gone with Pinnacle with, that came about from sitting at my interstate store, watching. I had 4 deli workers on staff. I had multiple phone lines for call-in orders. And so I had 2 teammates taking phone orders. I had another teammate taking care of the customers who were walking up and ordering. I had a cashier come over to help them again, so it's taking her off the line. And I've got 1 teammate cooking food. And so I had all that labor and just the order process and order generation and lunch. Knew I had to do something different. And you know, Sheets has been doing this for over a decade. Talked to Sheets and I said, yeah, it worked great for us. Oh, and by the way, we paid for the entire thing with 2 buttons, add bacon and add cheese. I said, hey, that sounds fantastic, let's do it. I went to the restaurant industry trying to find the solution. And there's a lot of different solutions out there. I didn't find what I was looking for, because what I was really looking for was integration all the way through the point of sale. It's tough to find a solution that will get you all the way through that and post-deal all the way through to on record without having 2 parallel point of sale systems. Pinnacle was able to provide that for us, so I'm really excited about what Pinnacle is able to create, and we're actually using it pretty effectively. Corey.
Indeed. Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the challenges that got Get & Go and Jiffy Trip to where they are today. So let's kind of talk about the digital strategy. Mark, do you want to start off here and talk about how you all reached, put together your objectives that you wanted to accomplish with the strategy and how you came to a digital strategy?
Sure. Some of what I'm talking about here, well, you may see in later slides, but repetition makes remembering, so we'll do our best to not repeat too much. But you know, it's become obvious to us in the last several years, especially in our markets. You know, about half of our stores are in markets that are less than 12,000 people in a community, and this company kind of grew up being the only game in town. We didn't have to fight for customers. But we you know, as the industry started consolidating and companies started purchasing other companies, we kind of noticed a trend that if you weren't growing, you were probably selling at some point. We're a family-owned organization. We're 3 generations deep now, and the youngest generation, who's our COO, is 32, and he has no desire to leave the industry. So we kind of went on a path to growth, and we needed to look for a model that would work. Many of you, most of you probably know that the growth plan of Dollar General is pretty sweeping. Their model is not requiring the margins that we do to operate, especially in a smaller community. They don't spend the money that we do on a store. So we kind of had to look at where we were getting our dollars from. It's we do get, we're in the, we do make some decent money on fuel, but tobacco, Cokes, things like that, Dollar General's taken over. I can't buy a roll of toilet paper for what they can sell one for. So we had to look at what we could differentiate ourselves. We kind of looked at, let's identify a need and then try to fill it better than anybody else if there's somebody else already filling it. So we kind of went with food where the highest margin in our stores was. It's a 60% margin on a good day. We traditionally ran hot cases, but the future's not necessarily in those hot cases. People want individualized offerings that they can pick and choose and describe their own experience.
Okay, great. And just to kind of pick up from there, you all were looking for ways to get those customers to engage as well and have that engagement with your customers with that.
Yeah, it's been a journey trying to move from 28 stores, 29 stores, trying to keep every one of them working efficiently and kind of having the same engagement with customers face to face as generations come in that don't necessarily want to have that face to face or that person talking to them or handling their money. So we had to look at customer engagement as multifaceted and try to handle a customer that might come in the door wanting to talk to somebody, might walk in the door wanting to pick up whatever it was they ordered. And Pinnacle, Pinnacle met that need. I'll get into more of that later.
Excellent.
I got ahead of myself a little bit I've already covered a lot of what the need was. I apologize for that, but the ultimate goal there was not to take away labor hours so much. It was to put the labor to use in making food to enable us to grow more food. We were really at a bottleneck where we were just throwing more labor at it. We're growing in food so fast that without digitizing our orders in the process, we were just going to spend way too much in labor. So, like I said, this product is allowing us to grow more food that we were not unable to do before that.
So let's talk about some of the legwork that you all did. I know, Mark, you had an opportunity to speak with some different groups to get an idea on how you should tackle the situation yourself and sort of lay the groundwork for your objective the inside perception the perception that you want your customers to have when they're inside the store, and how you created a design that works for that sort of digital human behavior, or that sort of digital interaction in human behavior. So can you talk a little bit about that and this slide here, how that?
Sure. This slide kind of stems from the desire to learn from other people's mistakes. We learn from plenty of our own, but we don't necessarily, we know that we're not inventing the wheel. It's like William said, Sheets have been doing it for over a decade. And I was amazed at the larger companies that were willing to talk to us just by a phone call. They met with us, they opened the doors, they opened their books. They showed us what they do well, what they wish they do better. Especially, I can't say enough about wall sheets and rudders. They gave us one-on-one time with their managers, with their team members, in their kitchens, with their drive-thrus, and we kind of learned, we brought back stacks and stacks of notes and tried to build a store around it, and turned out we were actually rebuilding a company out of it. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Wawa. I haven't, but it's amazing to me that a company has that fanatic of fans with that many stores, and a lot of stores that don't even have fuel. And Sheetz is kind of the same way. They've got a lot of loyal customers, and the people that work there are very proud of how long they've worked there. The company in general celebrates the longevity of their people. And that's actually something that we'll be moving forward with the mobile app is you've got kind of got two sides. You've got consumer engagement and then you've got employee engagement, and you kind of got to marry the two because your employees are also your customers. But one thing we learned from Sheetz were some of the things you could do with the metrics by moving towards a digital platform. Things as expensive as a digital menu. We looked at digital menus and managing digital menus several times, but when the majority of our stores still had hot cases, it didn't really make sense to spend that kind of money on something you could manage centrally. But Sheetz did some studies and some end user polling as customers left, and they found that the perception of a customer, even at a hot case, if they ask for something like a burrito and they've sold their last burrito, they need to go make one, and the customer's waiting 3 minutes, and it's a static menu that we've traditionally had, it seemed like a lot longer than that. Theirs actually said, if they wait 60 seconds, it would feel like 2 to 3 minutes. And if you have a digital menu with some movement, with some promotions that don't necessarily have anything to do with food, but are still relevant to the purchase, the consumers will actually perceive the times a lot less because they've got something to do other than look at their phone or watch the person make their food or look at the line that everybody, the line behind them with people thinking that they're holding up. So moving to a digital platform in a lot of ways, and I realize we're not here to talk about digital menus, but it kind of leads into the conversation of what else can you do. You kind of have to you have to be willing to reinvent yourself pretty often these days. You've got to build an environment that is willing to accept change, not just change, but rapid change, and you've got to fail quickly. It's very important to recognize the things you do wrong, probably more so than the things you've done right.
And I think it's, again, important to just kind of recap it. Like I said, we're not here to focus on digital menus, but the perception that a customer has inside of a location whenever they're looking at a static board, the perception, again, is as if they're waiting 3 minutes, when in reality, they've only been there for 60 seconds. That's huge. They're leaving, they thought that they were there for 3 minutes, but when they have a digital display, the perception is 8 seconds, when in reality, actual time, they were standing there for 3 minutes. So that's interesting on just a little behavioral psychology there. We're going to continue there. Mark?
No. Sure. The other thing that we learned from Sheetz in particular, and I'm glad William brought that up with the add bacon, add cheese, is the opportunity to upsell. You can instantly increase your sales, and not just your sales, but your margin by learning from the metrics with a kiosk. A customer that walks up to a kiosk that's comfortable with the kiosk, and I'm here to tell you it takes a long time to develop the menu flow on a kiosk and get it right. But if you do get it right, it'll show immediately. I like to go back to a story. We had a pre-opening at our first made-to-order store where we invited some seniors, we invited some high school students, we invited some city leaders, and that's where we tested that kiosk. We also tested the kitchen to see if they were ready to handle the volume. we had about 200 people in there, and we showed a elderly couple that were between 60 and 70 years old how to make a sandwich on the kiosk. And they were so excited about being able to make this sandwich, and then, you know, they got their sandwich, they were walking around with it, and they were talking to the other seniors, and within 15 minutes, they were over at the kiosk showing other seniors how to use the kiosk. And that, I think that was when we knew that we possibly got the button positions in the right order. And you'll notice very quickly what you sell, what you don't sell. Made to order is pretty awesome because you can reuse ingredients for the recipes, and it's not like you're buying a pre-made burrito and a pre-made pizza, or you know, you can mix ingredients, and the customers enjoy the process because they get a product that's unique to them. Your uptick on the ring, you know, she said that you would get about a 30% uptick. We've actually seen 30 to 40%, simply because the customers don't feel like they're being judged as they're adding things to their sandwich or adding things to their calzone. We're kind of, the unique things that we can do as an industry are things that a McDonald's can't. You know, McDonald's isn't going to sell pizza. Pizza Hut isn't going to sell hamburger. They might sell hamburger pizza, but they're not going to sell hamburger. They're sure not going to sell, you're not going to walk into a Subway and buy fried chicken. But as we define ourselves as an industry, we've got a unique ability to be all of those things to the customers. And giving them the ability to pick it up in one spot, whether they're ordering at a kiosk or ordering on a mobile app, or walking in the store and leaving with it, or sitting down and eating with a bunch of friends, they can cover all their food choices without having to go to multiple locations. Another thing I'd like to bring up in addition to the uptick, we run drive-thrus. We were using drive-thrus 20 years ago. Not all of our locations have them, but all the food locations will have them. I don't think it's probably a necessity. Sheets kind of work through it, and they don't do the volume that they'd like to. We're doing better volume than we thought we would do, but we actually opened up the rest of the store to the drive-thru rather than just made to order. But what you get out of a kiosk is, instead of somebody taking your order where there's a mistake made a certain percentage of the time, there's never going to be a mistake in communicating what you want on your hamburger or sandwich or calzone or pizza when they're entering the data or pushing the buttons on the kiosk. And that makes for a much happier customer. There's nothing unhappier than a person that wanted pickles and never got them.
Or worse, they got pickles and did. And just to kind of recap there, the customer's caught in the moment. You know, it's that behavioral, that lack of judgment. Oh, I'm going to add more bacon because my wife's not looking. Or I'm going to add extra cheese because I don't have to talk to a person and explain to them that I wanted jalapeno cheese on my hamburger. You know, so that's what you're getting with the kiosk. That creates a difference. That's where you're going to see those upticks on the tickets. And right here, just to look at our next slide here, this is representative. This is not actual figures, but this is representative of some of the trend lines seen at Get and Go. And I won't go into detail and explain them too much, but because we haven't got Will here. But within a less of a year's time, they're seeing 15% increases on tickets. But what's the anomaly here is that the customer count has been relatively flat. So if you wanted to kind of speak to that.
Yeah. Matt, you're not going to imagine we have a bunch of new customers when you put a kiosk in or a mobile app. That's driven by your food service offering and improving your food. But what you will see is an increase in food sales. Some of it is that they're looking at other options that they didn't have before. They didn't know you did salads or did subs. The other thing is the customers are going to be making it their way and what they want. It takes the judgment away, but really it is the customer wants what they want. When I'm hungry, I want to eat food. And so you're looking at the option, yeah, bacon sounds great right now. It was a click of a button, you didn't even look at the price. You said, yeah, I want. It's not, do I want to spend that money? No, it's a, I want. Click. Instant gratification, I got it. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So, This is real data. This is from April. So what I'm sharing with you guys here is before the kiosk, that's what 2018, I did 1,700 and other food items. So bacon, add cheese, add extra meat, whatever you want to call it. We did over $7,200 with the kiosk in April, and that's before the mobile launched in May, essentially. So
That's 1 month sales.
that's 1 month increased sales. That's just in add bacon, add cheese, and everything else. The point that I'm trying to drive home to all the retailers here is, with just like she's told me from the beginning, I paid for the entire project with just the prepared food additions. When you set it up right, add cheese, add bacon. It's one of those things where when we're designing this thing with Pinnacle, it's like, look, I don't want to just hit bacon once. I want them to be able to hit bacon as many times as they want. Right? Just hit it. So, again, if you think about it, 60% margin, I'm up a little over $5,000, $6,000, right? At 60% margin, I've more than paid for the cost. I'm only 4 stores, guys. So, I've paid for the entire project with just these buttons.
It's very significant.
One thing that I would add, you heard Mike talk about third-party POS yesterday, and if you could pop back to that last slide for a second. I'd like to talk just a minute about Pinnacle specifically. I'm the reason for that third-party POS integration, and I don't run Pinnacle's CSS kiosk or their kitchen. I run another vendor, but the ability to hit that button as many times as you want, as far as I know, doesn't exist other than in Pinnacle's kiosk. If I want to do it in my environment, I have to build multiple buttons or multiple screens that look exactly alike, so that when they push that button, it goes to a screen that looks exactly like it, and I can only go 5 feet. Just to talk about a little bit about the experience I've had with this project and the teams at Pinnacle. I was kind of an outsider coming in, and I met with Melissa and Mike and Peter and a couple of other people at Pinnacle, and kind of went through what we were wanting to accomplish. And not once did they say, well, we can't do that. We don't do that. It was an environment that was always, let's figure this out together. And I can't tell you, I've dealt with a lot of vendors over the years, both software and hardware, and I've never had an experience like the one I've had with this group of people. It's even the project with Mike Vaughn and the developers. It's almost as if there's an excitement, on every phone call as we figure out what we want to make happen next. I can't tell you what a joy it's been to work with these people.
Yes. You got some of that excitement too? Okay, so again, kiosk is paying for itself. Some of the things to point out, which some of the guys have already noted, pushing top grossing items. Real-time menu changes, change menu items in real time with Pinnacle kiosks. That means I can sit here on my phone right now and change every single menu on my chain of 30 stores on each menu with one button press, save on my phone, boom, it's rolling out to every single location once the screen refreshes. Again, the kiosk is inside of the Chrome browser, so that's...
It's also flexible in the sense that if you have a different menu and a different offering at different stores, you can select the menu by store.
Right.
And we actually do that in our store. So it does push out, but it's also flexible enough that if you have a different environment or a different food service offering, or you want to do something in a different way, you can do that.
Dynamic price scheduling as well. For instance, if you have, if you're seeing upticks in a certain hamburger, like the junior burger, we're selling a lot of junior burgers between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Let's increase the price 20 cents around that time. let's increase the add-on, the price of the add-ons during that hour or that 2-hour period. Increasing order accuracy, like Mark was saying earlier, the customer's designing it themselves. They're creating their masterpiece. They're getting it the way that they want it. So in that case, what you'll have as the outcome is the order is always correct because the customer designed it. And again, upsells on every item, increase wait times. You guys want to talk about anything else here in this slide?
Mark?
Where did that slide come from? I'd just like to talk for just a minute on kind of to close the loop a little bit. And you've got different things that you can operate with. You've got a kiosk, you've got a point of sale, you've got a mobile app. But if you're not controlling your kitchen, you're kind of missing the point. You get a lot of metrics once you fully integrate everything, and I can't agree more having integration occur across the board. But you can control your food, where it's being, where the fire is, where the grill is, where the make station is. You can control what's getting made where, so that it's getting to the order in at the right time, getting to the expediter to pass on to the customer. You'll know whether the order is late according to the prep time that you've entered. You'll know whether the customer's paid or not, so that you're not handing out free food if you don't want to. You also get a lot of metrics as far as how many orders were created, how long did it take them to create an order, when are my busy times, how much time is there between orders, was there a queue in the customers waiting to put in that order? If you have an order that's taking 3 minutes or 5 minutes, then maybe you need to review how you designed those particular screens in the menu so that you can make it easier for the customer. In terms of labor, I'm with William. We haven't reduced labor one bit with any automation or technology that we put in the store. What we have done is reallocate that labor to something that's more productive, which will hit your ROI in the end run. You can move that labor to hours that are more effective with the metrics you're going to get. You're going to know. You're going to know what the busy times are. You're going to know when you can do some prep work, how many people you need in the kitchen at any given time, so that you don't wind up with one person in the kitchen cooking when you've really got enough orders coming in to run 5 stations. After that, the reporting that you're going to get, kind of hopping back to the mobile app, in customer engagement, you're also going to get the ability to let the customer choose where they get the food to them. Today, you can have the customer choose whether they want it at the pump. They could be at the pump putting in an order and get their food brought out while they're pumping their fuel. Hopefully, not waiting the nozzle. You can set up curbside if you'd like. You can have them pick it up at the store. Inside the store, I don't recommend having them pick it up at the drive-thru, but if you so choose, I suppose you could. Those are things that you can have happen if you want, and it's very convenient to do so. We chose to always make sure the customer pays in the mobile app so that we aren't making food free. That was an integration that was probably pretty difficult on Pinnacle's side of the playing field, but it seemed pretty easy from where I sat. But that's one thing that was, going into it day one, is I wanted that ability to have the customer pay in the app. And I don't know, we'll probably get into payments later, won't we?
Mobile's next, but can you talk about fulfillment?
Yeah. I want to take a minute to go over the Vanity Kitchen. Some of the details that you're seeing here that if you don't know the file, you're going to miss. Notice there on the top, you got the customer's name, Sandra White. That's a mobile order. So if you have a mobile order come through, the customer's name is showing right there in the kitchen. It gives a great opportunity for your teammates to call the customer by name. The other thing you've got, the color coding of red, I wish we had, in the example, you would have had some fresher orders.
It's only 45 hours late.
Right. So it does not start out as red, it's white. And as it gets aged, it changes color, yellow, red. For operations, it's very easy for a manager or someone that is in control to look up in that pool and see if you need to do an intervention. Where is this order? Why is the customer waiting 8 to 10 minutes for this order? It's very easy to see. You can make immediate managerial decisions very quickly to help get the orders out quickly. You can also tell, hey, this ship is not getting it done. Their average order times are this many minutes late. It gives you a lot of data and opportunities to make yourself better. Again, the technology and the tools, you still have to use the tools to make yourself better. But there's a lot of data in the Affinity Kitchen to make your operations better.
And if you haven't got to check out the Affinity Kitchen yet, we've got some 100-hour overdue orders over here. You can come check out if you haven't shown stand. Yeah, and I also like to call this not only Affinity Kitchen, but it's a fulfillment tool. And it's also browser-based as well. It runs in a Chrome browser. I can pull it up on my phone. You can have a display for it in different locations. In fact, within the same browser, you can also set up that Affinity Kitchen to look at different stores within 2 or 3 clicks pretty easily. So, good. All right, so let's talk about get back to that behavioral side and what you've done to make it easier for the customers and what you're getting out of the mobile app. So let's kind of start with Mark on that.
Well, it goes back to wanting to engage the customer. I'm not ashamed to tell you, we looked at a loyalty program prior to making the decision to engage a digital movement. And with the vendor that I use for my third-party POS, it's a very expensive proposition to move to loyalty. And like I said, I'm in roughly half of my stores in the locations that they're in. I have kind of a captive audience, and loyalty isn't something that would be easy to pay for, simply because if you're gonna give product away, you've got to increase visits, you got to increase ring to not only pay for it, but to hopefully make more money. And I couldn't do it. So what I needed to do is find a way to engage the customers in a way that would not involve loyalty, but could act loyalty-like. I wanted to be able to excite the customers in promotions that were coming up. I wanted to be able to provide a little bit of segmentation, provide some offers to some segmentation, and this mobile app does that for me, and without paying the $750,000 that it was going to cost. So that's it's something that you definitely want to look at. I think loyalty, as we move forward, and we're actually building in larger communities now against some larger competitors. So I think loyalty is in our future. But this is kind of it's going to work very well for us as an in-between to be able to get some of that data that we would be getting out of loyalty into our hands without actually having to get our feet completely wet. Especially with some of the things they're doing with coupons or digital coupons. I don't know if you heard Mike say anything about single-use digital coupons, but that's a big, big thing. And I'm here to tell you, as somebody that has shopped around, that's not easy to get without another integration. And every integration costs money. So you can take that to the loan officer.
I want to share a little bit of information about being aha for someone. You can make money in loyalty. The chains that are doing loyalty well is 100% vendor funded at retail.
Yes.
Not cost, retail.
And just to continue a little bit, can you talk about some of the capture that you're getting with your mobile app? Maybe share some data as well, some recent data.
We've had the mobile app launched for 5 weeks now. So we operate 4 stores in a town that's 10,000 people, and we're already at 1,200 downloads.
That's just on Google Play, just on Google Play.
So if you have a good food service offering and you make it relevant for the consumer, they'll use it. And so what the thing that I'm liking about it is, okay, I've got 1,200 downloads, but how many orders am I getting? That trend line of the orders by week continues to go up. So not only are they downloading it, they're using it.
Excellent. So, mobile app, critical solution to for any strategy for customer engagement.
I really like the mobile app. And the Pinnacle solution, what I really like about it is the kiosk. If you can get to the kiosk and you ditch out your menu, you've got the app. All the work is done for the most part. It's just another representation of the kiosk all over again. The consumers really like it. You can save favorites, and so with 2 clicks, I can reorder what I like to eat. And it'll come with all my specific instructions. They'll come across right there to the Infinity Kitchen. So it makes it very relevant to the consumer. So it's also a point of differentiation for our competitors who haven't yet. They're working on it. But it just makes it really easy for them. Hey, I'm hungry. I want to. This also allows you to do better food. They're ordering from their work or their school or wherever they're at. They're really most likely not in your store. They're traveling. They're planning to come to your store, and so it's presence of mind. Yeah, I can go get and go on my 30-minute lunch break because they'll have my food ready for me when I arrive. So. Again, it's made to order food. It cuts the wait time out for the consumer. By the time they get to the store, it's sitting there ready for them to pick up.
You know, that's something else we're kind of looking forward to is we're building everything towards the individual today, but in the long term, we want to be able to offer catering rates for large buys through the mobile app. And I think in especially, communities, 40,000, 50,000, you've got some corporate opportunity there that are going to have lunches and things like that, that will open doors for you that you wouldn't normally have had. And those are sales that would have never existed if they weren't able to order because if you've got somebody ordering food for a group of people in an office that are working through lunch, they're not calling stores to order food. They're seeing what they can find online. The other thing is one of the beauties of this app is the fact that it's got a framework that you have to download from either the Apple Store or Google Play, but the majority of it is written in such a way, HTML5, so that you can make some pretty large-scale changes without people having to re-download the app or whether, with the app having to be updated. I find that they've done a very good job of complementing performance against function and getting as much as they can into updating that thing without having to reload it every time.
Will, can you talk about some of the analytics that you're using today and how Google Analytics has been working for you? Or I don't know if you had enough time utilizing it, but
it's a little bit early to do too much. We're only 5 weeks in. What we are monitoring is number of downloads and number of orders that are coming through on the app. Again, the frequency of the use is going up. That speaks to it being well built. If you get a consumer to download an app, they may not like it and just not use it. But with us seeing that the orders are continuing to come through and increasing, means that we've built something here that's relevant.
So bulleted here on this slide are just some of the options that are available inside of the mobile application. This is not having any loyalty integration. This is not doing any hard POS integration with third-party POS. This is all functioning within the Affinity Cloud or the Affinity Consumer Mobile application.
They're all black They're all black.
They're all black too, right? There's no green or red, right, Mike? All right, excellent. So today, on the Get and Go mobile application, customers have the option to pay, correct? Or you're doing, you want them to come into the store?
Yeah, we didn't do payment. We were originally scoped for payment, and we decided to do it without payment to get it out faster. And
What are you seeing with that though? Demographic wise?
the younger consumer wants payment. So the younger consumer wants payment and wants to, again, if you think about someone that is on crunch, they want their order, they want their food, and when they pick it up, they don't want to wait in line and pay for it. All right, so we're going to be in the payment game here. For me, in a C-store environment, I'm loath to put payment in because I want to sell them the Snickers bar, right? I want to sell them everything else I've got in the store. If you're selling food and you're going to get your fountain sales are going to go up there too as well. But if you're completing the loop and doing payment, you're really not getting any of your impulse items, and then you're really a restaurant. So there's a risk there, a risk reward, but my customers are demanding it, so they want it. So, and I can understand it, because when I'm at lunch, I'm busy. They don't want to queue up and wait to check out. That's why Who's On Go works for them. They walk in and walk out. So with payment, we'll close the loop. But the point that's been made that, hey, this is not a food offering, the way this is built, you can sell anything in the store through this app. And if you build your entire store, you can sit there and catalog your entire store and sell it to the app. It's going to take a lot of work. But I think we actually might go down that path of doing just that, of adding, the top 10 per category, or some threshold with 80-20 rule, to allow a customer to say, I want my 12-pack of beer, and I want my smokes, and here's my credit card, and then just drive through the drive-through, it's already paid for, here you go, and out the window, and they're on to the next. So we're in the convenience, and that's pretty convenient.
Indeed it is. Mark, how are you prospecting to use mobile payment?
We actually scoped payment for day one for a couple of reasons. One is we want the customer to have the ability to choose how they want to handle the payment. We want the order paid for before we make it. That was kind of a big deal to us. And then the other is with Card Connect, you've got some options specifically around ACH transactions that can occur for quite a bit less money than a debit transaction. And if you kind of go with the line of thought that some companies have done with fuel and ACH transactions, you can kind of split that savings with the customer and offer them a discount if they're using that method of payment, so that the customer gets a bump out of it just like you do, and then that'll build loyalty. Anytime you make a customer feel like you've gone out of your way to help them, they will return the favor.
So just some other things to note with payment, and Mike's here, so correct me if I'm wrong, right? But for bulk customers, we also have a solution that would not be third party. So if I'm correct here, through the Pinnacle mobile application, a customer would be able to process their payment through that store's local payment center. Is he shaking his head? Yes. So yes, we wouldn't have to go to a third party. Everything would be journaled just as normal. The customer would, in theory, select their Snicker bar or their pack of Coors Light and their Marlboro Lights and have it ready for them to pick up at the location. And they process the payment through the mobile app, and then from the mobile app through the local Palm payment server. Yes? Okay, I got a thumbs up. Great.
That would work so much better than the third party.
We've got a lot of bonds. So let us know when you're ready.
That's actually the first I've heard that, but that's actually a really, really awesome way to do that, because you know, I'm over here building another integration with a payment provider. You know, I use First Data, you know, but anytime you go above site, you're building another reconciliation point for accounting, and all of you know how much they love new reconciliation points. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Kudos to Mike on that, right? And well, kudos to that team. I think that we're at the end here. Are there any questions related to any of the slides that we've seen? Any hands? One over here. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious about delivery, if you guys are thinking at all about delivery. I know with food service, there's a lot of, companies who are trying that out, maybe using their own service or Uber Eats and things like that. Just curious if you're talking about that at all.
We're looking at that, but I wanted to walk before I ran. One of the things and challenges that you have to do when you do delivery is the food gets bad when it leaves your kitchen. And you have to manage that food all the way through to delivery point. And it's tough. Uber Eats takes a significant chunk out of the sale. But
33%.
So, with our mobile app, it would be very easy to add the option of pay selected delivery and move forward on that. But right now, we're focusing on mastering what we've got, and then we'll take the step of delivery in the future. But definitely in our future, we want to actually deliver it in store to the consumer. That's the next step in convenience is, and part of the reason why the store visits are down for the industry is that they're just buying it on Amazon. They're not going to buy it at a retail shop and everything else, and throwing gas and everything else. They're staying at home. So we're going to have to be able to bring that C-store to the consumer. So that's coming.
And the day that they can do digital age verification online is going to hurt us really, really bad. We tinkered with drive or delivery before. We would not do it internally, I can assure you. that was a learned mistake. But I'm curious because we found the same thing. You know, in the community that we're in right now with made to order, Uber Eats and Diner Dash, they're not there. But there are a couple of companies that are, and they take that significant portion. How are you guys going to handle that? Have you considered whether you're going to try to uptick the customer for it, or whether you're going to eat it, or just raise the prices overall and use a blended average? How are you going to do that?
Talking in the industry, one of the things that's great about our industry is we seem to share a lot. With Sheets and Wawa, and Sheets actually helped me a little bit, not to your level, but people who have done delivery, the average rating while delivery was $50. That's significantly higher than our normal rate. So to cover the delivery charge, make it more important to pay the delivery charge. And so you, if you have a delivery charge to cover it, the green is going to be higher. For everyone in the room, it's being done. The convenience store delivering to the consumer is being done. If you haven't looked them up, look up GoPuff. GoPuff is designed to take your customers. And so it's not everywhere yet, but they're taking the Facebook model that went into college towns first. So if you're not innovating into your C-store, if you're not getting better food, if you're not looking at these technological advances, delivery and everything to make it relevant, you're going to be left behind. The reason why we're trying to keep ahead of this and innovate is to not lose that customer.
Yes, sir.
Daryl, I have a question. For both companies, what did you do or what are you thinking about doing to incent and, I guess, make consumers aware of the mobile application and to get them to use it as an option? What are you doing to engage that customer in front end?
Advertise the mobile app itself.
What
We of course got them in the pump toppers. We've got the signs inside the stores, but what we found was most effective is when at the order point in front of the kiosk, or any time they're waiting. Hey, if you had your mobile app, we would have been home. It essentially the message. And so the customer engagement at that point, it was very effective.
I think you're absolutely right. If you catch them at a point of inconvenience and give them a more convenient way to deliver it, they'll eat it in a heartbeat. And that's what it's all about, the adoption. You can have, 200,000 downloads, but if they're not active, you might as well have two. You gotta get that adoption.
Yes, sir.
More specifically, how do you convey that message? That signage, is that always engaged with the customer at that point in time?
Repeat, and repeat. You really have to go multiple messages. Think about we saw yesterday, someone said we read so many different words every day. We're inundated with messages. So I could put a sign up, right, that says, hey, free food today. And I guarantee you half the customers wouldn't even recognize that they read the sign. And so you have to hit them again and again and again, different types of touches.
So in our store, in our new concept, as you walk in the front door, we actually have multiple points of entry, kind of a QT norm now. But if you walk in the front, the first thing you see is a big 4x4, or 2x2, video wall. And our plan is to have that first point of entry saturated, and then as you move over to the order kiosks, there's a 1x3 row of digital menus that are 55 inches apiece, and it'll be plastered on there, and then it'll also be at the point of picking up the food and ordering at the kiosk. And, it is repetition, and we have a little bit of an advantage. We have a group of radio stations, and so we learned from their advertisers. You have to repeat something 3 times for somebody to remember it, and that's how they sell their advertising anyway. So that's kind of what we use our rule of thumb, is you have to hit them 3 times pretty quickly in rapid succession in order for them to remember it as they're leaving.
If you do it right and you've got a good product, one of the coolest ones I've seen so far on the mobile app is watching a customer that had a mobile app and he had his food and his friend did not. His friend was waiting. He's like, well, he had a mobile app, you had food on it.
Sounds like a party.
And so it was really cool to see, in that if you do it right, your customers are also going to market for you as well.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? All right, well, thank you, gentlemen.